KCPD was called to Truman and Bennington at approximately 6:30 p.m. in Kansas City last night. KCPD was called to Truman and Bennington on an injury accident. The victim had life-threatening injuries and was transported by EMS to a local hospital. While being treated, medical personnel discovered the victim was suffering from a gunshot wound. The victim was declared deceased at the hospital. The 5 shooting incidents occurred in close succession of one another, geographically from west to east, and are believed to be connected to one subject of interest. Through investigations, detectives quickly identified a subject of interest in all 5 shootings. The subject of interest was located a short time later after the shootings in a house in Independence, Missouri. The house and the situation with the suspect's vehicle resulted in an Operation 100, which is also referred to as an armed barricaded party. The subject was confirmed to be inside the residence by Independence Police Department. At approximately 12:45 a.m., Independence police officers reported the house to be on fire. The Independence Fire Department responded and extinguished the fire that caused significant damage to the home. Independence and Blue Springs officers remained on scene until the fire was thoroughly extinguished and safe to enter. The house was then cleared by Blue Springs police officers who did not locate the subject, nor anyone else inside the residence. At approximately 10 a.m. this morning, the scene was turned over to the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department. KCPD worked with fire department personnel and state fire marshals to include canines to thoroughly search the burned residence and surrounding structures and vehicles on the property. The subject was not located during the secondary search. The vehicle used in the crimes was located at the residence and is currently in police custody. As soon as it was confirmed the subject was not located on the property, investigators immediately alerted and activated federal, state, and local partners to assist in any needed resources to locate the subject. Regional law enforcement agencies are right now searching for the subject and need the public's help in locating him. The subject has been identified as 22-year-old Oscar Sanchez Munoz. Sanchez Munoz has an active warrant out of Kansas City, Kansas, or Wyandotte County, Kansas for aggravated assault with a $100,000 bond. Above and behind me is a picture of Sanchez Munoz. If anyone sees this subject, call 911 immediately. If anyone has any information about his whereabouts, they are asked to call 911 or the Hit Tips hotline at 816-474-8477. Sanchez Munoz should be considered armed and dangerous. And I will take any questions.
Chief
Was there an
Curtis.
Uber driver that was shot?
There was an Uber driver that was shot, yes.
So we've talked to a witness who says he was in that rideshare headed to the World Cup and says his driver was shot. Was there any other connections to the World Cup?
There was no other connections to the World Cup, and I will say that our officers drove the fans to the match and they got there on time.
What does this say about the safety challenges Kansas City might face during the World Cup?
You know, this is an isolated incident. I say that isolated meaning this is one person that's responsible for a series of shootings. This person, we know who he is. He is identified. We have law enforcement agencies, federal, state, and local, all looking for him right now as we speak. Right now, we are asking for the public's assistance to make sure that we have all eyes on trying to locate and get him into custody as soon as possible, which is why I called you here today. And thank you for being here.
Any idea on motive of why?
Right now, we do not have a motive.
Do you know what the $100,000 bond is for?
That's an aggravated assault. I'm not sure.
Federal law enforcement official tells CNN that multiple people have been arrested and accused of discussing a plot to attack Sunday's UFC fight over at the South Lawn of the White House. Those alleged plans included drones and a gunman. Right now, it's unclear how far the plans have developed. Charges are expected to be unsealed today. CNN's Brian Todd is here in the Situation Room. Brian, what more can you tell us about these arrests?
Wolf and Pamela, this is new reporting coming from our colleagues Holmes Lybrand, Kanita Iyer, and Hannah Rabinowitz. This comes from a federal law enforcement official who spoke to CNN. Federal officials have arrested multiple people who they say discussed plots to attack the UFC event at the White House on Sunday, including, as Wolf mentioned, by using drones and a gunman. The official says a law enforcement team, including Secret Service and FBI personnel, uncovered messages discussing the plot between multiple individuals. FBI Director Kash Patel confirmed the arrests in a post on X this morning. Patel saying the alleged plot involved individuals who were outside the National Capital Region, that the FBI and local law enforcement partners became aware of the alleged threat last Wednesday, June 10th, that the alleged attacks were, quote, stopped cold, according to Patel, and that multiple people are in custody. Our source said the group discussed in messages attaching deadly payloads to drones in order to cause panic at the UFC event and to use a gunman to shoot at the crowds. But this is important. It's not clear right now how far this group was in the planning before law enforcement became aware of these messages. Another person familiar with the situation says that charges are expected to be unsealed this morning and that arrests have been made across 4 federal districts. The FBI has so far declined to provide additional details. We do have a statement from Secret Service Director Sean Curran, who said in this statement posted on X, quote, "The U.S. Secret Service worked closely with the FBI throughout the investigation in the days leading up to this weekend. Our special agents, mission support personnel, and technical security teams worked around the clock to identify those responsible and hold them accountable," end quote. Also, Vice President J.D. Vance spoke about this alleged plot this morning on Fox. Take a listen.
This is very, very dark stuff. And unfortunately, we were talking about this a little bit off camera, but this is what happens when people turn the rhetoric up so loud that disagreeing with somebody is a cause for violence. That's the place that we've come to, unfortunately, with too much of our political rhetoric. We got to tell everybody to tone it down. And I hate to say this, but it's true. You see more political.
Shalom, shalom. First off, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahushai, Ba'Hashem, Rakakadash, Yahweh being the true name of Heavenly Father, Yahushai being named for His only begotten Son, who Igli calls God, and Jesus Christ. I want to give double honors to our apostles, double honors to our elders, a great millstone, Natasha's truth and will well, and salutations to you, hopefully that person's truth and honest sincerity. This is Brother Yawasap, comes you another lesson to the spirit power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Give you another update in times and events. You heard the news reports. You know, right now there's still a government at large in Kansas City. He has unalived 1 person. I guess he hit 5 off of a highway. I don't know if those targets were specific or if it's just random shots that was going on. But they ain't caught the dude yet. And we're in the midst of the World Cup, you know, and some of the games are going to continue to intensify. You know, competition-wise, people coming out to check it out, and you know, I believe it's going on until tomorrow as well. So, hey, all eyes are on America right now, and a lot of brothers been talking about potential false flags coming out. You know, apparently what the news is pushing out is that the government stopped a potential attack on the White House during that UFC fight that went on. You know, so this is the narrative that's spinning, which means something is going to happen in a minute. This isn't just going to die out and just nothing ever going to happen over here, man. We keep warning you guys, something's coming to the United States. It could be to where they set up somebody else, actually does it from another nation such as Iran, or more than likely it could be just an inside thing like they did in 9/11. You know, the scriptures say, you know, perilous times shall come. You know, and when you look up that word perilous, it means full of danger or risk. You know, Salaki, I would pull the precept, but I'm driving right now. I just can't really type, so the traffic's a little bit heavy. But you know, just want to quote precepts, man. You know, scriptures say perilous times shall come, man. And we are truly living in perilous times. Perilous means full of danger or risk. Okay? You know, and the scriptures also talk about how there should be sedition among men. Invading one another as well. Okay? And of course, as their actions stand in their power to not regard kings or princes. So that means citizens are not going to care about whatever laws are in place. They're just going to take actions and matters in their own hands. And things are just, you know, there's a lot of motivating sources that can cause that to happen. You know, what they were doing with ICE. You know, it's interesting how they attacked all the quote-unquote Latinos and targeted them. But yet when it comes time to make money off of them for the World Cup, it's all crickets. You know, Esau's a devil, man. You know? So right now, Esau Edom is trying to paint the face of terror as being black and brown people, quote unquote, so-called blacks, Latinos, and natives. Remember last year that knife attack that happened on that train? You remember whose image they put up for that? And when you digged in further to the incident that took place, the woman that supposedly was unalived or got attacked, tell me why she was proven to be a crisis actor, and they found her photo on the internet being used in certain other previous events. You know? So Esau, you know, he's getting backed into a corner, and he's building up a case to basically put a lot of draconian laws against so-called blacks, Latinos, and natives. Because the guy that is randomly been popping off on Kansas City Highway during this World Cup stuff, and guess what? He's a so-called Hispanic dude. You know, and we always teach y'all that so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives, those are actually the true Israelites of the Bible. Okay, so you know, Esau hates his brother Jacob, which Jacob represents those people. Esau represents the so-called white man. And you got a lot of topics being brought up that build up like different racial tensions right now in the United States. You know, you had this one white dude that was making comments that, you know, because slavery ended, that's the reason why the world is all out of shit, you know, but it's because you started slavery and you did the atrocities to our peoples while the world's out of hand. Because the Lord's judging all these empires that are owned and ruled by Esau Edom. You know, so, you know, just be wise as serpents, harmless as doves. Be careful going to these events. Everybody's kicking it right now, enjoying the festivities. You know, and a lot of different major cities are hosting teams and different games, and people want to go and, you know, enjoy it. Hey, just use wisdom and be aware of your surroundings. You know, we like to warn to avoid heavily populated, crowded areas. You know, for me personally, as fun as it looked like it would be to go downtown, you know, and go to the FIFA Fan Festival and stuff like that, that sounds nice, it sounds cool, you know, but hey, there's too many people concentrated in one spot. And while I was meditating on not going, you know, and how people got to be careful going to an event like that, look what's going on. All of a sudden, they got a suspect at large right now, and they ain't caught the guy yet. So, you know, and it might not even be that guy that did anything. Esau is doing so much with this AI stuff, man. Like I say, he's just trying to, you know, paint us as the face of terror right now, to get the heat off of him, because he's been exposed for all the wickedness he's doing in the world, starting with these small hats. So they say it's a Hispanic dude that was doing all that, and they're going to arrest him and all this stuff, man. But how the fuck you didn't catch this dude? Of all the technology you got, that you're obviously hacking in people's phones, because how the fuck were you able to thwart a White House attack based off of messages? It ain't no fucking paper mail that was sent to other people to communicate, which means how were you looking at messages? What were you doing? You were hacking into people's phones. So they're tapped into all our phones. Okay? And so the technology they got with AI and stuff is so vast, there's no problem for them to find people, man. I seen this video of this regular person that doesn't work for the FBI, who's a teacher. You know, he looked at that video that, what's that dude that be trying a lot of recipes and making, that black celebrity, I can't remember his name, but he's pretty famous. He's known for taking off his glasses and throwing them when he eats something real good. You know, he watched this guy's video, and he put out a video basically posting saying, I bet you can't find where I'm at. And the other guy that's talked about was a teacher. He was able to track him down just off of the Instagram a few second clip that he uploaded. He was actually able to pinpoint his exact location. So if a regular person can do that, that's not in the FBI, then how much more than the actual government itself that does have all the technology, it does have vast training, and people that they've hired to do certain things. You know, people can fall for the okie doke, but hey, it's common sense stuff like this, man, that makes things, you know, stand out, that you really got to pay attention to. You know, because it goes right over people's heads. It's creating a tension and fear, you know, so when they do bust a move and make something happen, you know, they want to get support from the masses. You know, but us prophets, we're watching for the false flags. You know, I'm not buying this shit. It doesn't make any sense. You know, and it's just too perfect to have something happen, because you got so many massive events going on right now in city to city to city, and then you got all this tension with Iran. All of a sudden the World Cup starts and Trump signs a deal. You know, it's dumb, man. And so it would be perfect to break that deal and pull the United States right back into it if Israel, which owns the United States and owns these different world leaders, because they're owned by the small hats, does something to convince the United States to be pulled back into it. You know, and justification for that is attacks on U.S. soil. You know, so, hey, keep watch, man. Keep watch, man. The day of the Lord comes a thief in the night. And though they say peace and safety, the scriptures say sudden destruction shall come, suddenly. So while everybody's calm and kicking it, think everything's cool, you know, everybody just forgot there's a whole freaking war going on right now between the United States and the Middle Eastern countries, which are known, they're known for doing guerrilla warfare and going to other nations and actually doing, you know, a T attack. They're known for that. And that tension, that heat is still there. So why would you want to go to a massive event like this? I mean, like, I get it, you know, everybody likes to have a good time, but just use wisdom, man. Probably not smart to be trying to go to somewhere where the whole world is watching, you know, and that's the perfect opportunity for one of America's enemies to get some shine, to prove a point, make a point, you know. So, hey, man, keep watch. We're gonna see what unfolds over the next few days. We're just living in times at the end, and so we have to expect certain things to happen. And if the Lord isn't with you, you could be one of those people driving on the highway that just get popped and you ain't do nothing. You know, you got 5 people that got shot, man, at random. You know, and there was another rumor I seen, some other post. I have to look into it. I think there was somewhere where like 49 people. They mentioned some type of bomb. I don't know for sure though. That might have been fake news, but I'll look, research if I find it. Of course, I'm gonna do a sit down on it. So just stay tuned. What's going on in your local cities? What's around you? Be careful. Be cautious around your surroundings, man. People are bugging out. They really are, man. So that, Lord's will, this morning, this lesson was edifying. I'm going to go ahead and close out. Give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem HaKadosh. Double honors to our apostles and elders, great millstone, and Tasha's truth and will well. And salutations to you, hopefully that puts truth and honest sincerity. Shalom.